Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, Spy Family, Season 3.
Yep, Spy Family, Season 3, Episode 5. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back for more Anime Night in the Dojo. And, well, last week we got back to the episodic nonsense. We had the whole thing with Sylvia training the new guy. That was fun. Her getting old because she, hurt her shoulder. She pulled a ligament in her shoulder or whatever, and we got to make the she's old joke. Other than that, that was a solid skit. The kebab guy was hilarious. I appreciated that. But
we still don't actually know how old Sylvia is, but from what we've seen of the backstory, presumably she's like in her 30s, maybe 40s.
Yeah. But either way, the second part, all that needs to be said is Master Henderson made an elegant attempt. That was it. That's all that can be said for that second skit. And you gotta appreciate it. But either way, we got back to the episodic stuff. That was a nice break after the super serious Lloyd stuff. And I believe we're going to be heading into one of the bigger major things as far as I could tell, because once again, I did get this, what I assume was this, because it seems to be around episode 5, because I remember seeing stuff on the Lloyd stuff, but nothing major, just a couple stills. But then I saw something on this earlier in the season when the sub was running, and I believe this is going to be kind of a big deal. Obviously, the episode title, the mommy friend scheme, should kind of give it away. And if it's, I can say it now because it's this episode and it's happening now. If this is not your and Damien's mom, I will be unbelievably surprised. You know what I mean? Because we already have the Becky stuff going on with her maid, her attendant person. So I can't imagine it's the Black Bells. So based on the still that I saw, probably Damien's mom. So that could be a pretty interesting aspect for what Lloyd could do with that. If Yor all of a sudden becomes friends with Damien's mom. So I assume that's where we're going to be headed toward, which could be a pretty big deal. So, yeah, this seems like it's going to be a full episode because it doesn't have the split title kind of deal as well. So this is going to be a big major plot episode. So looking forward to this one. But this is the last spoiler that I saw for this season, and not really a huge spoiler either. It was just a still, and we still have to see what happens. So how it becomes a thing is probably going to be hilarious. So we're going to push some buttons and get going here. So people on Patreon, we'll see you on the other side of the edit for the reaction. People on YouTube, we'll see you on the other side for the discussion and review. So here goes some. Well, alrighty then. There you guys have it. Melinda. Desmond. No big deal. Once again, Yor has impressed somebody with her athletic talents and craziness. We'll get to the Sakamoto stuff in a minute here, but this is a fairly unused trope, I think. And usually it's between the teenagers in high school and stuff like that. But on occasion, it happens with adults in this kind of situation. So why not use it? You know what I mean? So we got some of the classics in this one. Gotta appreciate it. And, well, once again, when I saw this woman, it wasn't this still that I saw, but it was I think it was when she was speaking to Yor just at the restaurant or whatever. I think that's the still that I saw, and I was like, that has to be Damien's mom, right? I mean, it's one of those things where you just kind of have to infer it for the story. So it's just oh, so we're gonna go Damien's mom route as a possibility.
Yeah, no, as soon as she showed up here and was clearly some affluent individual and mentions that she's a mother, it's yeah, she clearly, from a writing perspective, has to either be Becky or Damien's mother.
Right. And at the end of the day, based on what she was doing here, the weapon thing was funny, by the way, just as an aside. But as you can see, she was trying to hide who she was. You know what I mean? The classic, I'm a celebrity, I'm going to cover my head and my eyes and stuff like that. This is the classic, one of the classic celebrity looks of something on your head and then big honking sunglasses. You know what I mean? And while the Black Bells are prominent figures, I doubt either one of the Black Bell parents have cause to hide themselves, like somebody that used to be the prime minister's wife. You know what I mean? And was part of the National Unity Party and all that stuff that went down. So the Black Bells, their company is like well known and stuff like that, but they're probably not in the position of, I need to hide myself in public. You know what I mean? So
yeah, they are supposed to, for we know, they are supposed to be like one of the bigger families in Eden, but yeah, they're still not, former prime minister.
Right. And as from everything that we got with the Unity Party falling off, you could see it as disgraced former first lady. You know what I mean? That a lot of people might have problems with them. That's why not Damien, but his dad. Did we ever get his dad's name? Like his first name?
We always just refer to him as Desmond.
Just Desmond.
I don't remember if we give it his first name ever.
That one's a thinker. You would think that we would have gotten his first name. That's a thinker. Might want to just check that really quick to see if the name immediately rings a bell. But either way, it's if it's like disgraced former, whatever.
Oh no, we did get it. Donovan Desmond.
Donovan, yep, Donovan. I thought it was something with a D. So yeah, Donovan. Yep. But so it's one of those things where Donovan himself is a recluse, probably because of that. You know what I mean? And I think they mentioned the Unity Party kind of like waning in popularity and stuff like that, but they never really like drove home the point like they did in this episode with like, a lot of Unity Party stuff is kind of like sort of looked down upon. And like when they were having the discussion at the table at the restaurant or whatever, it's like, I can understand if you don't want to like, hang around us because of political reasons, because they're like a minority now and stuff like that. And like anybody part of the Unity Party could be seen as like a problem. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So probably the reason why Donovan himself is a recluse and rarely comes out, and probably why his wife, whenever she goes out, has to be like this, because we've all known like the first ladies of, say, if you live in America like we do, we all know what the first ladies of have been in our lives, like Clinton's wife, Obama's wife, Bush's wife, Trump's wife, that kind of thing. So it's just, if you're a public figure, it's that kind of thing. And if you're disgraced potentially, then most people are probably going to be self-conscious, and there are probably going to be people out there that might want to do something to them. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things that just always comes up in like politics and stuff like that, especially with the kind of era they're portraying this series in, especially with the secret police arresting potential spies and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Very Cold War era intelligence and laws for civic law and stuff like that.
I checked it real fast just because I figured it was the case and we were kind of questioning it before. But there's the Desmond family is Melinda, Donovan, and their two sons, and it's they keep the like double D initials for all the males. It's Donovan Desmond, Demetrius Desmond, and Davian Desmond.
Right. Yeah. So, yep. We got pretty much everything I expected. We got the volleyball sequence, which was a thing. Fairly classic. Yora could have probably taken on that team by herself, but she had to be taught team sports. Because, as Age mentioned in the reaction there, she did play tennis. She didn't actually play with Lloyd. That was Fiona. But, she was still making an attempt to take interest in it because Anya was taking interest in it because Lloyd had to do it for a mission. So...
Yeah, she didn't actually play with Lloyd, and once again, tennis barely even really qualifies as a freaking team sport, because at most it gets to is duos.
Yeah. So either way, even with the super hyper everybody on pickleball these days, that still just doubles. You know what I mean? So it's not like you got like 15 people on pickleball court. So either way, this was kind of like an interesting way to handle this. But again, we made the Sakamoto comparison and stuff like that, and I know a lot of people were talking about like how Sakamoto would like easily handle Yor and stuff like that. It's like, what about now? Here's Exhibit A for people underselling Yor, and I talked about that pretty much all season when we were doing Sakamoto days. It's like, yeah, Sakamoto's ridiculous. A lot of people in his world are ridiculous and like what would be considered like superhuman and stuff like that. She just put a volleyball into orbit. Okay?
Yeah, putting a volleyball into orbit is pretty ridiculous. Once again, the Sakamoto's most ridiculous feat of strength is still the friggin' landing gear segue.
Yeah,
because that's also a very like absurd level of strength. I would, without actually doing the math, I wouldn't be able to say directly, but it is. I would put it as fairly comparable to the volleyball thing here.
Yeah,
I would still probably put the volleyball thing as higher. But once again, without doing the math, I couldn't really say for sure. But the Segway thing is actually a very big feat of strength. Being able to freaking put that much force behind the wheels,
right,
for it to continue after he gets on it like that.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's Sakamoto is going to be doing those kinds of things. Yor necessarily doesn't have to do those things because most of her assassination targets are not on her level. It's Garden and then a couple people at Wise, maybe. You know what I mean? From what we've seen. Sakamoto has to deal with crazy people all the time. Yor doesn't have to. So she's not really putting on these insane feats of strength. The majority of her feats of strength happen in absurd situations, like when she's teaching Anya dodgeball, or when she took on Fiona in that one-on-one tennis match and she shredded the ball. I don't even want to think about doing the math on what that would take. You know what I mean? So she's put dents in vehicles by just, stopping them, stopping a car going like 30 miles an hour with like a chop and putting a massive dent in the, in the hood of, and keep in mind, these are vehicles that are made out of metal still and not our plastic pieces of shit that we have these days. So that's even more ridiculous, and obviously when she doesn't hold back her strength, she gets stuff like this. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where, as absurd as some of the stuff that she's done, you have stuff like this. Like even some of the lesser things, like when she put like the dent in the floor here, like that in of it itself is already a massive thing, because for a volleyball to have enough force to put like a small crater in the floor is already insane. You know what I mean? Like finding that still shot of it, it's like, it was like a couple frames, but still it was like it was like somebody had taken like a sledgehammer to the floor. You know what I mean?
It was after the net's bit where like it's like the energy hitting the net.
Yeah, there it is. So yeah, that was like somebody took a sledgehammer to the floor multiple times. And while a volleyball is not soft, it's not that hard either. It's like that middle ground ball. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like a tennis ball, just bigger kind of deal. It's not supposed to hurt you to play with it. You know what I mean? It's not like it's a medicine ball or something. So even this feat of strength is a pretty big deal, because that's using a fairly non-dense object to put that much damage into hardwood that is probably very well built. You know what I mean? So
yeah. The honestly, the most absurd thing about this is implying that she was able to do that kind of damage to the floor without flattening the ball.
Yeah. So what's this ball made out of? That's the question. Whoever made these balls is king of balls. I had to just keep going.
Yeah, like yeah, like even if it was a freaking full-on hard ball, like a baseball or something like that, you do this kind of damage to the floor and it would have just exploded on contact.
Yeah. And
let alone a softer ball like a volleyball.
Right. And just going like full death battle here, to put something like a volleyball into orbit in that amount of time is obscene. And the fact that it didn't burn up on exit.
Yeah, no, that's another thing. This is another feat that it would clearly have destroyed the ball.
Yeah.
There's no way the ball would be able to survive freaking the kind of force that would have been behind it to actually put it into orbit.
Yep.
Let alone the sheer level of heat it would cause by the friction.
Something I will say here. You guys see what this is? This is kind of a world map.
Yeah,
and
we can see like
the shot came from what is about where Germany would be, but the world does look different. Like what would be Japan over here? The landmass is different. The landmass over here is different. There's a big honkin' lake in what is like the Red Sea area and not the Red Sea. So their world is definitely different. Like you have there's a lot of cloud coverage, so we can't really see it, but we talked about how like what's the deal with the climate and stuff like that. It even looks like parts of like what would be like Siberia here. You guys can't see my mouse, but like just where the ball came from, if you just go east, like that like very lush green area, it looks like it's not as close to the North Pole as like what Russia is. So their world is weird. And like if you just go south of like where Germany would be and stuff like that, there's like no Africa or very smaller Africa. So there's some stuff going on with this.
Well, yeah, we have like what looks like a really fucked up Mediterranean there that is like looks very different.
Yeah.
And then it's like not a fully separate landmass beneath.
Right. And if this is supposed to be canon at all, I don't know if this was just them throwing together a planet that looks vaguely similar to Earth, but it's something we have talked about with like Fiona, like going to like swamps and stuff like that, and the Southern Ocean. You know what I mean? It's like the Southern Ocean? You know what I mean? When I think Southern Ocean, I only think, the Arctic and the Indian Ocean, because those are south. The Pacific and Atlantic are huge, and they encompass, everything. So those are just east and west. But, it's just, that was something we talked about, and like a lot of people like have questions, like, what's the deal with their world? Like, you can just go somewhere from like what is supposed to be Germany and like go from snow to tropics in like 0.5, and they got an ocean near them. It's like, what the hell? So that was another thing that we've kind of like talked about that's kind of interesting that like I noticed on the scene. It's like, oh man, we finally get like a shot of the planet. That's cool. And then we get screwed over by cloud coverage. So either way, just wanted to bring that up. But another like fairly big thing about this obviously is like the mom group here and stuff like that. And there are a lot of big time facial expressions by Melinda in this episode that have to be taken seriously. So those are the ones that we kind of have to think about, like, what do they mean? Like, you know what I mean? Does she still hold a grudge against, Yor and their family because of what was done to Damien? Is Damien the son that she cares about the most, and maybe that's why she had a falling out with her husband? You know what I mean? But in that case, you would think Damien would have mentioned his mom if that was the case. He'd never mentioned his mother, ever. It was always about what his dad wanted. So maybe she, the multiple faces. She had that like very serious face, like, hey, seriously, it's not a big deal. Or is it? You know what I mean? Like that face generally when it's animated is like the super serious, I'm pissed face. You know what I mean? But then we get the whole the face that she makes in the car, which is the completely like kind of like polar opposite of it, where it's just like, she's genuinely concerned about something. That's like the fearful face. You know what I mean? And a lot of times in these kind of shows, and especially the source material, a lot of these things are played off as just for like comedic effect or whatever. But this wasn't a comedic scene. Neither one of these were. These were very serious, like in-world ramifications of like Yor joining this group and stuff like that. And was it her making that face around the rest of the friend group, and then this is how she actually feels? So there's a lot of questions around this woman now. So we have some serious intrigue going on.
Yeah, we know something is up because once again, like Lloyd's intelligence is that she's estranged from the rest of the Desmonds, but she clearly has some sort of actual connection to them, despite that.
And it should be noted that she still does wear a wedding ring.
Yeah. And then we know that like Donovan barely gives Damien the time of day and basically put all his eggs on Demetrius. But we've gotten literally like no context for her whatsoever so far. No one else mentions her.
Yep. So,
but she clearly seems to have something between her and the other Desmonds.
Yep. So that will be very interesting to see what that is, because it could be any myriad of things that we've talked about. So yeah, we'll just have to see. But it's one of those things where two very different faces in two very different situations. The in front of the full friend group face, and then only in front of your face here. You know what I mean? So that's something to keep an eye on. And the other thing that I just kind of like offhandedly mentioned was the fact that, you know, well, what's Garden's stance on all of this? You know what I mean? And then we actually got it. I didn't think we'd actually get that. But it's something that, from a logical standpoint, she would have to report to her superior. And he seemed more interested in Lloyd's thought process. So we're starting that breadcrumb trail of, you know, what could be like a clash between Wise and Garden, because Frankie mentions Garden like once or twice before now.
Yeah, like the one other scene we got with the Garden leader guy here, he seemed suspicious of Lloyd to begin with, but was still like endorsing the whole thing because, once again, he knows Yor needs a cover story. So he was fine with the whole like fake marriage thing.
Yep.
But he was already showing signs of being suspicious of Lloyd, and now it seems like Garden does have a legitimate bone to pick with the Unification Party.
Yep.
And so now he's even more suspicious of Lloyd.
Right. So the little just things of what are going to happen further down the line are slowly being laid here, and we cannot forget them because they're important. So
yeah, Garden is still a very big mystery. Like, once again, there's the whole like thematic connection of, you know, Garden, Eden, Project Apple, all that, but we have no clue what their potential connections are.
Right. So this series just got suddenly way more deep, but we knew it had to be coming. So here we go. Classic season 3 stuff, right? So anyway, that's all I really got for this one. I got this, which again, I was like kind of hoping would be a thing, and I was just like, maybe they'll mention it at some point. And then boom, it happened immediately. I was like, all right. Why not? So anyway, another solid episode, especially for all the implications that are here and around it. And Damien's mom is now a pretty big deal, Tom. So we'll have to see what happens with Melinda in the future. So that will be a thing. But I guess on the comedy side of stuff, we wrapped up with this little skit here, which the bread crashing into someone trope, there's a classic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that Damien's buddy here, I forget his name, but he pointed out, he's like, hey, you both have like the hair dealies now, right?
Yeah, we still don't know what's up with Anya's. Like, we never see those parts of her head. She always has them covered somehow or another, which a lot of people suspect might have something to do with her telepathy.
Right.
Like she has some like actual like physical deformity there or something like that.
Yeah,
That
because
is tied to her telepathy.
when she's not wearing her little, whatever you want to call those accessories, she's she has like a hat past that point on her head, right? And
she always either has the cones, has a hat on, or she does her hair up in like big buns covering that part of her head as well.
Yep. So that'll be another kind of thing to look for, because at some point I'm sure we'll get more of what happened with her. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff going on for all the main characters that, you know, we've gotten a little bit more on Lloyd. We still need more on Yor. We've gotten the majority of the stuff on Yor at this point, but there's still some stuff to be shown off from her past, like more of the garden side of stuff. And then we need like how more on Anya. We have the very bare minimum on that, you know?
Yeah, we have next to nothing on your Project Apple. And while we've gotten like the core backstory to Yor, we don't really know anything about Garden itself or really how she got involved with them. We just know that like we just know freaking Yuri's perspective on it, and that like they got orphaned, and then just one day she started coming back covered in blood and had tons of money.
Yep. So either way, continues to be solid. So that's all I got for this one. We'll leave Damien with his yakisoba sandwich. Yeah, why not? So, you got anything else, Age? Need to go ice my eye.
Yeah, the biggest thing here is just that now the entire Forger family is involved in the Desmond situation one way or another.
Yep. So that was something we talked about in Campfire Cooking the other day, was as well as hopefully they keep up the mom stuff, just like they're keeping up all the other stuff. Because you can't just have it be a one-off, then it's just kind of weird, like, well, what happened with the mom stuff? You know what I mean? So, and to that end, I hope Umbridge comes back and starts giving out more Tenitris bolts.
Totally random thing, but when I was looking up the Desmond name thing and trying to find to see if there was a manga image of the planet when like the volleyball gets kicked out hit in orbit, one of the freaking search results is does Anya ever manage to get a Stella?
Yeah, she was the first one to get a Stella, remember?
Yeah, she already has a Stella. She got it in like season 1.
Yeah. Do you not remember? Do you guys not remember the whole Starlight Anya sequence?
Yeah,
it was when she saved that other kid from drowning.
Yeah, she saves the kid from drowning and becomes the first year to get a Stella for that year.
Yep. So
yes, like
she does. It happened like 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's like one of the most popular questions that pops up on Google is like, does Sonya ever manage to get a Stella? And it's like, yeah, she's had one.
Yeah. It's one of those things. We were talking about this with the stuff in Gachi Yakuta, is like the people that don't watch the fight, but they watched the fight. Did you watch the show, but you didn't watch the show? It's not like it was just like a one-off thing where they didn't do anything with it. She made a whole half an episode big deal about it, and she wore it to school, and everybody was giving her shit for it. You know what I mean? So it's not like it was just like, oh yeah, we gave her a Stella, okay, bye. No. Okay. So let's just throw that one out there right now. But anyway, that fact being cleared up for anybody who is questioning that. I don't know what AI is being trained on that question, or who's trying to do that search a bunch of times, but that's something I've seen people do, is there are like metrics for like Google and stuff like that, and like you guys know when you type into any search engine and like it tries to like complete your question or whatever, if enough of the same question gets asked multiple times, it'll be like the first like result. And there was somebody that was like having like an AI just ask Google the same question like, you know, thousands of times, so that it would be the first thing that came up. And like if somebody asked like a question like something about like the color gray, and then like the first thing that comes up was like some kind of absurd question. You know what I mean? It's like, who would be asking
Yeah.
So we've gone from people voting like 800,000 times for like their favorite all-stars in sports with stuff like that and bots to now people just messing with the Google search metric. So that's where we're at. But either way, I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond whoever watching, we always appreciate you stopping by and hanging with us here in the dojo for more Anime Night in the Dojo and the Spy Family. Season 3, Episode 5. So have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.